Now, if everyone could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, with the meeting underway. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everybody. Okay, next order of business is public comments. Do we have public comments this morning? Vic, okay, Vic, you gotta come to the microphone. They changed the rules on us.
You want to make something?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, I can read.
Will's gonna go first.
Okay, Mr. Doyle, you gotta come to the microphone, tell us who you are, and for the record.
Hello, my name is William Doyle. You may know me as a member of the Economic Development Committee on the Board of the Assessors on the Maynard Web Subcommittee. I live at 10 Vernon Street. Today, my past experience is probably more relevant to the topic at hand. I was president of the Maynard Country Club for 5 years and was responsible for brokering the sale of the club to the town. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the Maynard Golf Course, Sterling Golf Management in particular. We recently received a letter, many members, about a price increase that they are doing for memberships. It's a fairly significant increase. It's a couple $100s. I'm not here to talk about the increase itself. I'm here to talk about the reasonings that they gave behind it, which I think are borderline deceptive. For example, they have given reasons for constant capital infusion into the golf course and clubhouse, 30% increase in fuel cost, and golf course improvements, which include things like new tee boxes and new bunkers and drastic improvements. While this sounds good, and while the golf course has certainly improved over the past several years, many of the claims that they are making to justify the increase are not true, in my personal belief. That these improvements were made in lieu of rent that was owed the town, and therefore are not costs that are directly attributed to Sterling Golf Management. In addition, we expect, as part of the management contract, that they will be making improvements on the course as part of their contract with us, right? In fact, I believe it's written into the contract that we have with them. But if you take a look around at the improvements that have been made year by year, those improvements stop as soon as a certain capital number is reached. Because why? Because that's the number, that's the amount of rent that they end up owing the town. In the end, the town is making these improvements. We're not getting any money from the golf course, and I think it's unfair that they are claiming credit for this, these types of improvements. And I would think it's in the town's best interest that an audit be performed of Sterling Golf Management improvements to really understand what investments they have made. If you go and take a look at the club walk in that clubhouse today, there is water damage that has been there for years, not changed. The only upgrade that I know as a customer, and I don't have visibility into everything, the only upgrade they made was remodeling the pro shop, which is not a capital improvement. It's not something that is an investment for us. It's something for them to help sell their business, make those improvements. But the improvements made to the tee boxes, to the fences, to those other things, those are all money that have come from us. And so I would again encourage an audit be performed of them. I would strongly recommend that the committee that was set up many years ago to oversee Sterling Golf Management be reestablished. Something was established, it dropped off the radar, was never followed through on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Will, one question. Can you tell me what the increase was?
I don't have the exact numbers with me. Chris, $350.
What is that like percentage-wise compared? Like how much
Went
did
from 1180 to 1450. Something
So
like that,
20%. It's a fairly significant one. Look, I do not
percent change is what it was.
I do not hold any grudge for an increase in cost, right? A business should be able to manage its costs. The reasons are disingenuous, right? I will tell you this, Joe, right? As somebody who ran the financials, the day-to-day financials of the Maynard Country Club before we sold it, the deal that they have is so sweet. We paid $75,000 in taxes. We paid all utility bills. We had to pay for all the maintenance of the clubhouse. We had to pay for all the maintenance of the course. They do not pay any rent. They do not pay any money for maintenance of the clubhouse. They are not paying money for capital improvements to the course. They have a sweet deal, and we really, I think, need to take a look into when the contract is up, what is really a fair deal for them and what we're getting out of it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other public comments? Vic is here. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. See if I can get up to the microphone.
You can do it.
Doing good.
You'll make it. Hopefully you make it back.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate your indulgence. I have a couple of 3 comments to make here. I would like to know of you 5 people and also the town administrator and the assistant town administrator, how many have availed themselves, which should be a given, shouldn't be something that, I mean, it should be part of the job, that each and every one of you read our town charter as it's been revised back in May of 2014, because I find that you can't be very conversant with it when you have citizens that are taking an interest in the welfare of the town and present the board with a petition, as I did several years ago, and just find that elected and appointed officials, for some reason, like to put the kibosh on citizens' petitions. If you look at the town charter, okay, under section 2.7, it specifically states, with the exception of citizens' petitions, all proposed warrant articles shall be subject to review by town council. Any proposed article deemed to be illegal by town council shall be disqualified by the Board of Selectmen. It specifically states in the first sentence, with the exception of citizens' petitions, town council shouldn't stick their nose into it, and I understand that town council has done that and also given an opinion, which I believe town council was not doing it properly, because as our town council, she should have been aware of that. And if she was asked by any member of the board to do that, she should have refused, because it's not ethical for a town council to do that. Then you have I mentioned at a meeting at the country club about a public works advisory committee that hasn't been appointed for some time, and I would hope that you take that and do something with it, because I think that we need an advisory committee, and it was put in there for a specific purpose. And also, you have on the agenda tonight to sign a contract with a company called Stantec. And I would think that you would think twice about that contract, because back on the 22nd of August in 2017, Stantec did a survey on the sewer down there for the Powder Mill Place people, and I believe that if you sign a contract with Stantec for engineering services, you may well be in conflict, or they may well be in conflict. And I don't consider that very ethical either. But I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess that's enough for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Vic.
You're welcome.
Okay. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Betsy Gardstein. I live just a few doors down on Main Street. And I'm here to ask the board to consider voting at the next meeting to endorse ballot measure 3 as a yes. And the reason that I bring this to your attention is that 6 other communities in Massachusetts have already done this. They are Boston, Cambridge, Somerville, Melrose, Arlington, and Lexington. And I feel that it wouldn't just be Maynard following along, given that we have 351 towns. Being number 7 wouldn't be so shabby. I would really like to see Maynard lead in this. A yes vote on ballot question 3, for those of you who don't know, would preserve the existing anti-discrimination law that was passed in July 2016 and signed the next day by Governor Charlie Baker. So if this does not pass, we would be taking rights away from a group of people who suffer very high rates of discrimination, about 65%, which is probably underreported. And it affects me personally because I am a big sister, as in big brother, big sister, to a 12-year-old transgender boy. And it really scares me to think that we could go somewhere and that he would not be able to not only not use the bathroom of his choice, which he's still figuring out because he's young, but it affects any public accommodation. So if this ballot measure does not pass, any restaurant, hospital, train station, mall, hotel, library, anything like that could just say, you're transgender, you're not welcome here, and that would be within their rights. And I think that that is frankly horrifying, and I would hope that everybody here would feel that way. Additionally, I think Maynard can really lead on this because Maynard, the plurality of voters in the primary, voted for an openly transgender woman, Alexandra Chandler, and I'm proud to have worked on her campaign. And this is an issue that's really near and dear to her heart. And it's become an issue, really important issue for me. So not only have 6 cities and towns endorsed this ballot measure, it's also been endorsed by every single major New England professional sports team. That's something I didn't know. 250 businesses, 350 clergy and congregations, 14 labor unions. I could go on and on. Mass Chiefs of Police Association, politicians from both parties, Boston Children's Hospital. And these numbers probably aren't even up to date as of today. So I implore you to vote on this in the next meeting. This would be 1 week before the election, and I think that it would really mean a lot to people like my little brother, Alexander Chandler, and people like me who are just cisgender allies who don't want to see other people's rights taken away. I have information. I don't know if I'm allowed to hand out, or if people just want to take, I'll leave a stack in the back, and I can also give some to you as well. It's just like a little mini pamphlet about this, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just waving at me, or you want?
He's flying.
Oh, fly. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Next, next item is acceptance of our minutes for the October 2nd, 2018 meeting. And make a motion that we move to accept and approve the meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2018 as shown. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment on the minutes of October 2nd, 2018? No. David? No?
No.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes? Thank you. Okay, right into the correspondence items. I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the correspondences, items A through L as presented. You have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any comments on the correspondence items?
Quick question. With the 2 resignations from the Conservation Commission, are they still able to have a quorum?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know how many people are on the,
I don't know how many there are on.
I'm not sure either.
Just introduce 2 people to Bill Nemser who are interested in coming on.
Yeah, and Kate Young is working to make sure that they have a
Yeah.
quorum. But off the top of my head, no, I don't know what their numbers are.
It's just imperative that we get somebody up.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any more comments on the correspondence items? All those in favor? Thank you. Next up is the consent items. Tonight there are 4 of them. I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the 4 consent items as presented, A through D.
Second. I have just a quick comment, and thanks to the administration. I don't know if everybody was aware, but late last week, might have even been over the weekend, I was involved in an email that came out from the Veterans Council, that was very concerned because they had been notified that the town insurance company was looking for, actually, I guess it was the Mill and Main was looking for insurance from the Veterans Council, saying that if they were going to muster their parade at Mill and Main, that they needed to have proof of insurance in order to fulfill the requirements of Mill and Main. And so I was copied in on the concern, and I forwarded the email with a request to see what we can do to Greg and to Andrew. And before the weekend was over, it appeared that we had a resolution. It's a good one, and we were able to get our insurance company to agree that we can muster the parade here at Town Hall, and we'll be able to have the parade. But as of late Friday, the parade was off. You know, this was the message I was getting. The parade is off. The band's not going to be able to play unless they want to, walk from, wherever with nobody else, because the rest of the parade was just going to be standing at Veterans at Memorial Park. So thank you to the administration for jumping on it. It's important to our veterans and I think our entire community that parade continue as our tradition. So thanks, Greg, and to Andrew also. He's not here, but thank you.
Okay.
Question. I signed one of the letters in the consent agenda. Do I need to abstain from voting on the consent agenda
Excuse you, sign.
as a whole because I signed one of the letters in there?
Uh,
As my role in the business
not
alliance?
knowing the details, I would recommend possibly just to be safe.
Okay. It's just the sip and stroll one as the business alliance. It's just that we collectively vote on them, so I just want to be safe.
It's true, so you can vote on it separately.
As long as you.
If you recuse yourself from voting, and then you sign it, as we all sign it, shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and even if you just announce the fact that you have a potential conflict, but it does not influence your vote on the thing, you're fine.
Okay. It won't influence my vote.
Unless we call you on it, but we won't.
It's not very controversial.
Yeah, true, but, yeah, I think that covers it. If you want to not recuse yourself from voting, then you're
Okay.
not part of the vote, but you can sign it as, that's fine.
Okay.
Either way, you've just disclosed it
Yeah.
publicly,
Okay.
as David was pointing out.
All right, and then there's just a comment, the Boys and Girls Club of Assabet Valley, their Youth Services Award celebration. If anyone, typically, we sponsor a table as a board, and if anybody's interested, just let Becky know and she'll figure that out. In the past, Kevin and Andrew have come and
Yep.
whatnot, so
You and I went last
as
year.
long as anybody that's interested, let Becky know. I'm sure she'll send an email out when she's back too. So, any other comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor? Opposed? Not voting? Okay, we got all the bases covered. 401. All right. Thank you. All right. 5 is the municipal electronic billing approval. I'll read the motion, then we'll get some information from Greg. I move to approve the electronic billing as described. in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 60, Section 3A. No taxpayer will be required to accept e-billing. It will be on a voluntary basis. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, so we'll just give us a little bit of information on that one, Greg.
Yeah, so Cheryl Kane, the town treasurer, tax collector, she noticed that although the website said that they could submit electronic billing, we had not been doing the electronic billing. So she would like to start that. It's at no cost to the town and or to the taxpayers themselves. So it's something we may have assumed. We had been doing this for a while. Now we will start.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
or comments?
because we do have some form of electronic billing where people can go online and,
Sure.
and, so this has nothing to do with that, it's different?
I'm not sure what the other form is, but
You can pay electronically, but I'm not sure it's the same.
I don't
is
know.
getting-
it's-
I don't know if we bill electronically.
Getting your bills electronically through the email or whatever, the email, I sound like I'm, 100 years old.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, so
The
this is
World Wide Web?
e-billing. Yes, you're right. So this is e-billing. So you should be able to opt out of receiving the mail version. Right.
Okay, so it does not, because I remember I was frustrated over the fact that when people wanted to pay their bills electronically, I think it cost them more to pay it electronically than it did not to. At least there was a small fee associated with it.
Oh, that's
And I just
odd.
want to
That
make
wasn't-
sure that somebody who chooses to get billed electronically doesn't end up paying a little bit more to pay their bill because they're asking for an email to come.
That's a fair question. I'm not that familiar with the program to know if there is a fee, but I can ask.
I
Cheryl.
certainly don't have a problem with offering it because it might be convenient to somebody who may want to pay a small little fee, if there is a small little fee. I don't know if there is. And similarly, somebody who wants to pay an extra small little fee, might be convenient for them to do that.
Absolutely. And then I'm looking over my notes that I asked Cheryl when she first proposed it, and those are actually one of the questions I asked, but I'm not seeing the answer in my notes. So that's a fair question. If you don't feel comfortable with approving it this evening, you certainly do not have to. And then we can come back to y'all.
But again, I don't have a problem with the program.
No, sure.
It's just, I think we should let the public know when they begin to sign up that, oh, by the way, this might cost you something.
I agree to that.
Even
as
if
well.
it's 20 cents,
Right, no, we should be upfront with that.
So, I have a question. The question is, are we gonna ask people to opt into this, or are we gonna have them opt out? You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna assume everybody wants to do this and have people opt
No,
out?
that's also a good question.
Or are
I'm
we
not-
gonna
I'm not
opt
sure.
in? Because I don't know that, with certain
we don't have
groups of-
everybody's email.
Certain say, yeah. No, I understand.
No, we have
So-
their mailing address. So I assume that on our notification of their tax bill that we would, one, be notifying them, as well as the cost of that, but then also provide them that box. And so that initial response would be back through the mail. And at least initially, that would be my understanding.
So they don't have an option to a degree, is that what?
No, they do have an option. They don't have to do
Yeah.
e-billing.
Okay.
Yep, it's on their initiative,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's
but with an
opt
understanding
in.
of what the cost of additional costs would be. I fully agree. And I have confidence that Cheryl has also made these considerations.
I'm sure she does.
But if I don't have those answers for you, I don't expect you
No
to
problem, no problem.
approve this evening.
Okay. Okay, is there anybody that objects to us voting on this tonight? Okay, then all in favor? Thanks. Thank you, Greg, information. Okay, are we doing anything with the land auction?
No, it's just a
Placeholder?
notification. It should have been in correspondence.
Oh,
Unless you have a question, you can certainly
Anyone have a
ask.
question?
But there's no motion because, and I just called Cheryl right before this just to verify that it's a notice of the land auction.
That means that the
I was
town's
confused
auctioning.
by that.
Yes, so it's land that the town has acquired that we're trying to sell back.
Oh,
Sell or sell back?
Not sell back, that was
Sell.
not back. We're not selling it back to anybody. We're selling it we're
Highest
putting out,
bidder.
up to auction,
Highest
like
bidder.
to the public. Yes.
You interested, Chris?
No, you have enough problems. I don't have any money, I just paid for a wedding. All right, so land auction is, that's it? She's just letting us know what's happening?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, joint meeting with the school committee. Everyone can come up, we can do whatever, however you guys want. Don't be shy.
Has the school called to order?
That's what I was about to do, Mr.
Okay.
Gavin. So, opening the special joint meeting with the Select Board and the School Committee for October the 16th, 2018, for the purposes of interviewing a candidate who is interested in the open seat for the Assabet Regional Vocational Technical School. So Pam, if you'd like to come on up and join us. I'll give you the place of honor.
You can stand or sit, whatever you like, either one. You can sit there, you can stand up, it's up to
She
you.
wants to stand.
I'll stand.
Okay,
Excellent.
all right.
So, thank you, first and foremost, for your interest. We really appreciate you taking the opportunity to put your name in for consideration. More importantly, acting to fill a void that's been created by Laura Ross's resignation from the committee. So, if you would, please, would you just briefly give us a little bit of your background as far as your relationship to the schools, maybe a little bit of your professional background. I know some of us have had the opportunity to review the letter of interest and resume that you've sent along, but for the benefit of the other people in the room, I'd really appreciate that.
Okay. So my name is Pam Reiniger. I have been a lifelong resident of Maynard, Massachusetts. I have 3 children, all, actually my oldest graduated from Assabet Valley last year. He'll be leaving November 12th to join the Marines. I have 2 other children at Assabet Valley, a sophomore and a freshman. My ex-husband was a graduate of Assabet Valley, and we felt very strongly that our children should at least explore the school. I am a product of Maynard High, a very proud product of Maynard High. And as far as my career, I have spent the last 35 years in the insurance industry, commercial businesses. Started from the ground up and currently in the underwriting department. Work for a company in Marlborough, Massachusetts, been there 18 years. Don't really know what else to tell you.
No, it's really interesting, just as an icebreaker and giving the opportunity for the rest of the room to get a sense of who you are. I know we've had the opportunity, you came to our listening parent forum a few weeks ago and what have you, so I know that you have a somewhat passing familiarity with the active day-to-day life of the Maynard School Committee. But I'm just curious, as a follow-up question, what do you know about the intricacies of the seat that you're hoping to fill, as far as what your role would look like as a member of the board at Assabet?
So I am a small amount familiar with the position because I had an opportunity to speak to Laura directly.
Okay.
I do understand that they are working on policy as well as approval for things that come in front of the board. I do understand that there is a lot of research and some subcommittees that need to be participated in, as well as when you get into budget proposals, there's some education around that as well.
Fantastic. At this time, I could keep asking questions, or I'd like to open it up to other members of our board, or perhaps the select board for follow-up questions.
Anybody has a question?
I think Justin's doing it. Okay.
I have a quick question. Do you have any experience with school budgeting process?
Not school budgeting process, however, in my management capacity, we were responsible for setting budgets for our department, both salary and budget line items, so I am familiar a little bit with that.
Pam, first, thank you for stepping up for this position, and also thank you for the service of your son.
Thank you.
And you also get a check mark in my book because you're in the insurance industry, which is near and dear to me.
You're still speaking to me, that's good.
But I think it's more of a comment than a question. Laura has been our representative for quite some time, and for whatever reason, we rarely saw her as a member of our team. Part of the discussions that we had, I don't know about the school committee or whatever, and there are some aspects of the role that actually become important to the town so that we understand what's going on at the regional school district, so the school district understands what's going on. So I would ask that that you commit yourself to being part of that team and being part of the discussion so that we all do understand and know what's happening at the regional school, so that it's not considered something that's this unknown, ooh, what's that all about? I have a strong belief that vocational education is very critical to, especially to the right students, the ones that is their course for where they want to go and how they want to direct themselves. Because many now, back in the day when I was going to school, many of the kids never went to college. They went to their trade, they learned their trade, they became the tradesperson. Now it seems people learn the trade, they go out, they go to a business school, and they're able to come out and run their own business and don't have to learn that along the way. So it makes there's a change in the way that program works. So, but getting back to the basic point, I would ask that you please focus on considering yourself part of the elected team here in Maynard and part of the town government, that we need to have your input because it's very important.
That's very fair.
Have you had occasion to go to the school committee meetings I don't even know how Assabet actually holds their school committee meetings. I'm assuming it's similar to the way you guys do.
So Assabet Valley, they do hold their school committee meetings similar to the way they hold them in Maynard. And yes, I have been on as a speaker capacity, as well as I was I guess I'll call it a voyeur, because I wanted to see what she actually did before I, signed on for something that I didn't really have a fair depth of.
Excellent.
Okay.
Did you ask what kind of a time commitment there is to it? I have no idea.
So right now, the way that it works is I have to fill her slot until the open election, which would happen June of 2019. So if there's anyone else that would be interested, I could run, or we would run opposed to each other, and the best candidate win, like you guys.
And then I would just echo what David said, and to a certain extent, I think I blame us for this too. We never did see Laura, but we didn't reach out as much as we should too. But we just expected her to come to see us, so if we could, put you on the schedule once in a while, and then just keep us updated, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, grabbing onto what Mary shared, we talked at the parent forum extensively about how Assabet and our relationship with Assabet is an extension and an additional set of offerings to the Maynard Public Schools. So to Mary's point, I think I'm just as guilty as anyone else, as the longest serving person on the board, that we didn't do a good job of reaching out to Laura. And I think the only time that we were really engaging in a lot of conversation about Assabet and all of the additional things related to Assabet was during the budgetary process, because their tuition structure does have a pretty significant impact on spending for the schools, and it comes off the ledger for the entire town as a whole. So one of the lines that in your letter of interest that really jumped out at me was the idea of fiscal prudence, and that really resonated with me, and I would love to have you join us at the table as we enter into the process and keep us updated so that we have a better sense of what the school is offering, but also what we can do to just be another part of the team. So, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm grateful for having met you at the parent forum, and just your, I feel like your very thoughtful comments.
Thank you.
And I feel like that we need to really safeguard that option. I just want to echo what other people said about the value of the vocational education, and making sure that we see that as a part of our school system. Unfortunately, in the budget process, it's a feeling like it's not a part of. But because it really is, and for the right kids, and so being able to really have you as part of the team for us, and representing what, as it says in the town charters, this position is representing the interests of the town of Maynard for the students that are being serviced at Assabet. So understanding and being part of our governance, so we really would appreciate finding and any thoughts you have as we move forward and how we could do that. But one thing that came up was like, a suggestion was that when the administration from Massimo Valley goes and presents at like FinCom, for you to be in attendance as well as that major connection for that piece and things like that. Yeah, I guess that's my main comment and consideration. I would love for you to be able to understand some of the what we can do from our side and help each other out.
Collaborative team.
Yeah. I really appreciate that opportunity.
I have one quick question, more so, and it's just really, I remember hearing, and I think it was when Laura was here at one point, is the voting on the Assabet School Committee weighted based on, so this Maynard's representative gets less of a vote than somebody with a higher population of students? Is that true, or is it
It's
just?
something that we can look into, David. I
Or is
don't
it
know
just
that
based
answer off
on,
the top of my head.
or is it just based on the fact that there are, 25 members and Maynard has one member and so our vote is less influential?
I will try and find out an answer, and I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, great, thank you.
I do know, David, that it's not 25 members.
No, I was
Yeah,
exactly,
the school committee is only made up of the governing towns that
Right.
supported it, so there's only 7.
7. And I thought I had heard at one point that there might have been a weighted balance of that lessened Maynard's impact, but it might just be that it's 1 vote out of 7
I think it's
versus.
the 1 out of 7.
So what, can I just ask, just out of curiosity, what had you decide that you wanted to fill the role? You mentioned hearing more about it and understanding and that you came forward and chatted with her, but what was exciting to you about that?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't like, woohoo, this is what I'm dying to do all my life with my spare time. So I guess part of the reason is it saddened me that Laura had decided to leave, number one. But number two, the fact that there was no one stepping up to take the role. As a founding town, I felt like it was a responsibility to have our voices heard. And I really find, at least my opinion of elections, is if you want to complain, you must have been heard. So you had to, share your voice. So if you're going to be part of the problem, the solution, the whatever the thing is, then you have to just bring it. And so that's why I stepped up, because it was kind of sad that there's not a lot of interest, and I don't necessarily know that there was a lot of publicity around it. I know that there was the Facebook post and some other information, but again, it's a time commitment, and a lot of people just don't necessarily have the ability to give up the time. And I mean, it's just, so that's why I did it. I just, I do have 2 kids there, and I feel like I have kind of a stake in the game, at least until 2022, and then we'll see.
Anyone else? Okay. I think that's it from us.
Anything else from us? Your motion or my motion there, Mr. De Silva?
I think we each have to make one for our own body, I would think, right? You can make one, and I have to make one. I have one to
Have
make.
one vote.
One vote for all?
One vote for all of us.
Yeah, so per the charter, the Board of Selectmen with the school committee shall fill such vacancy by joint vote.
Okay, there's a motion here that's printed. I'll read it if you guys don't
Yeah,
don't
please.
mind. It says, move to approve Pamela Reininger to fill the vacancy in the Assabet Valley Regional Vocational School Committee with the remaining balance of the term ending on June 30th, 2019.
I'll second.
Okay? Any other comments or questions regarding the appointment? All those in favor? Okay.
Congratulations.
So we'll,
Thank you.
so well, Becky's not here, so I have to tell you. We'll sign this.
Okay.
They'll sign this. The town clerk will sign it and swear you. So you have to go to the town clerk's office in the next couple of days, and she'll swear you in.
Okay. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
I signed it, so if you guys sign, I'll pass it this way, then we'll give it to the school committee, we'll be done.
You signed it under school committee.
Shit. Pass it out, you're missing someone.
Future aspiration?
No, no. I already signed it for one of you guys.
I just think he wants to run for school committee next round.
I'll be dead before that happens. Not that I don't mind spending time with all you guys. So next up is the Sesquicentennial Planning Committee. Do we have representatives of that group?
Yes, you do.
All right, you guys can come forward, then we'll get to that as soon as we're done passing that around.
We submitted a PowerPoint presentation.
There is?
Yes.
If you gave it to Becky, she's been out, so
She told me it was ready.
awesome.
Perhaps you can go to Old Orchard Beach and watch it.
Do a remote, you could do a remote.
She said it was all in there, ready to go.
I'm terribly sorry.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Okay.
So are you guys okay? Are you guys okay absent the PowerPoint?
Sure.
You know what, let's check, hold on. Mike?
Yeah, like,
All right.
Oh, he's
all
gonna
right.
get it.
you might have it.
Might have it.
You might have
Give
it.
him a second.
You'll need the mouse.
Sitting here?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment. I've been coming to these meetings since forever. And one of the things I emphasized for many years was that if people were going to give a handout, they should have enough handouts to get to the people in the audience.
Okay.
Started.
So we knew what was going on.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Simmer down. Simmer down.
Causing trouble, you got a police officer called in here, Vic. They put him right behind you, a couple rows back. Yeah.
3-2 on the top of the seventh.
Red Sox?
The slowest game ever.
No kidding.
Top of the
Took an
seventh.
hour to play the,
Took them almost an
2
hour.
hours to play 3 innings.
Yeah, it was terrible. I was hoping to see at least.
It was only the
I
third.
was hoping to see like 4 or 5 innings before I came here, but. All right, well, I'll read, while he's preparing the PowerPoint, I'll read the motion so we can move that along. And the motion before us is move to accept and approve the Sesquicentennial Planning Committee request for seed money for the committee's projects in the amount of $25,000 from the account of the downtown enhancement, and it's 5186.0122.580000.0000. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anything you can tell us before that comes up, or you want to wait for that?
Well, want me to start? We've been meeting for approximately a year now.
Wait just a moment. Just introduce yourselves.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Paula Copley,
Lisa Dayhill.
David Mark.
And who are you with?
members of the Sesquicentennial Steering Committee.
Go ahead.
I've been practicing that for days.
Me too.
So we've been meeting for approximately a year now and have already developed a rough timeline of major events. This fall, we announced a slogan competition, and we'll be choosing that slogan at our next meeting. In the spring of 2019, we're going to have a logo contest. We're hoping that the slogan can be incorporated into the logo. April 19th, 2020, we're going to open the time capsule. That's right outside. That's left by the Centennial Committee, kicking off our 150th year. And in April of 2021, we'll close and dedicate that time capsule. The summer of 2021, we'll have a paid admission event, and in September of 2021, we are planning a celebratory weekend, including a parade, fireworks, and concert. There you go.
So far, what we have done in the last few months that we've been meeting is we've set the timeline for the celebration, outlined priority events, collected submissions for the slogan. We obtained a few at the Maynard Fest. basically raising awareness in the town that we exist and that this celebration is about to commence. Connected with groups in towns to discuss the future coordination, and really seeking volunteers to be on subcommittees because there's a lot of work still ahead. The next step is, like Lisa said, choosing the slogan. We're hoping to decide on that on November 5th. We're still accepting them. You can go to the site,
Maynard150.org.
Maynard150.org. We are going to be hopefully signing a contract for a book that David Mark is going to be the editor of. David, if you want to talk a little bit about the book and the timeline in a moment. And then the other part of it will be soliciting donations, asking businesses for participation in this. We've got some various ideas. And then the planning of the larger events will be the parade and the concert, maybe a barbecue. Haven't quite wrapped that up. And in order to accomplish all this, we need funds. So that's why we're here tonight, to request some seed money for the, to begin the process. We need to book contracts and find out who can participate in a parade, find out how much cost it is for fireworks. We're also looking to make a contract for the book sales. Like I said, David will go more into that. He has to have some money up front. And then with book sales and other memorabilia items, we're hoping to, get back a lot of the funds. Grants we're also looking for. We're not really sure where to start right with that. That's another part that we're going to have hopefully a subcommittee on. And banners and miscellaneous items, sweatshirts, t-shirts, we haven't got quite that far. So in the past, we researched a couple of other towns and what they did to get started. Back in Maynard's 100th birthday, 50 years ago, they received $32,000 from the town. It was paid back. We read the budget, so to speak, and it was amazing how they recuperated all that money back. It was through a lot of fundraising and donations. Littleton celebrated their 300th in 2014. They received $50,000. They did not have to pay it back. It was, donated to the town for the celebration. And then Hudson just 2 years ago celebrated their 150th with seed money of $20,000 that they also did not have to pay back. So I think that's where we're at right now, why we're here. And then David, if you want to speak a little bit about the book.
If you have the second page, or the back of what you have, Andrew had suggested that we get 3 bids for books, so we did. One was from History Press, which is a company I've worked for in the past, so they turn out basically what is called a trade-size paperback, 6 inches by 9 inches. These are 128 pages. What I proposed them is we could take it up to 198 pages, which would take us up to 50,000 words, and 100 images, which allow us to cover more history. If the town makes a commitment for an order of 600, it's going to be $11 a book. So there's an initial payment of $150, which is $1,320, and the remainder when the book is delivered, which would be for the April 2020 opening. It would be before the April 2020 opening of the time capsule. One point about this is the History Press books, you can order more beyond that 600 at the same price. So if the book town sells out the 600, it can get more beyond that. They usually will print 1,000. And the History Press will also be selling them directly in the paper store and online. The distinction there is if the town buys at wholesale at 11 and sells it at retail for 22, we make $11 a book towards this. In other words, we make back the investment if we get past 300 books. Anything beyond 300 books is a profit to the town, which helps defray the cost of the event. Walsworth does basically the contract publishing. They'll do either 500, 750, or 1,000 books, but that's all you get is what you order and pay for. The costs go down the more books you order, but there's still an initial payment of about a third, so that starts off at $2,600 and goes up to $3,300. You're getting something a little bit larger. It's basically close to this, 11 by 14, 8.5 by 11, 144 pages, again, around 50,000 words. The third choice, which I didn't bring an example of, is Republican does hardcover. Their minimum was $1,000, $1,853 a book. Upfront cost is $6,170, and it would be a larger book. And again, you're looking at $18,000, and then you sell it for whatever price you want to. Likewise with Walsworth, the town sets the price, whatever price it wants to. But I think there's a strong price resistance at about $25 per book for paperback, and maybe $30 for a hardcover. But I think once you get past 25, I think you start dropping off sales. I recommend going with History Press because it's a known entity. They did my 2 books. They did Paul Boothroyd's books. They turn out a good quality product. They're on time. The timing is this. We wanted April 2020. The manuscript and the pictures have to be in 6 months before that. It was basically next September. So if we can make a commitment now and get the town to sign the contract, I have the draft at home, and then this goes forward, the town makes the first payment, and I start collecting information for myself, the Historical Society, the Historical Commission, and put together a manuscript that everyone can review, and then we'll submit. So I think that's the book project. You also see a proposed table of contents I'm not going to go into, but the point is this starts for the entire history of Maynard. It's not just the last 50 years. There is a book, the Centennial book, but it's out of print. It's, I think, much better and much more viable to sell a book that covers the entire history of Maynard. So any questions on what I've proposed?
What's your preference, the paperback versus the hardcover?
Paperback. I think these days, hardcover book for $30, $35, maybe never gets off the shelf. Something like this. It's just easier to move around the house, to read, to pack on a trip. Yes.
As a committee, we thought so as well.
Yeah, within paperback. Right. Other questions on this?
Is the book part of the 25,000?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, the book should make a profit and actually definitely return money once you invest 300 in sales. Everything beyond that is $11 profit per book.
Because you said the book's going to sell for 22, is what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just did the math, and if we sold all 600, the profit would be like just over $6,500 total, I think.
Yes, basically you're paying about maybe 72 and you're making 7,200. So it's in there. But again, you can buy more past the 600 and continue to sell them.
Right.
And we're looking at other ways to raise revenue as well.
But this is just one revenue raising item. These, just for example, these that I wrote have sold each about 700 copies. So I think an official town book that's for sale at town meetings, at the library, maybe at the high school, at town hall, will probably do better than that.
Can I ask a question about your timeline of events? And I'm not suggesting anything be changed at all, but did you have a discussion about the September time with a celebration weekend with parade, fireworks, and concert, given that we already have Oktoberfest that typically falls in September, which includes fireworks, celebration weekend, etc.?
A firm decision hasn't been made about exactly when to host it.
Okay.
So,
We
yeah.
thought that time of year because we want to do something during the summer, but a lot of people are away during the summer, so we wanted to wait till after school started. And maybe combine it with.
Well, that's a possibility, but
we didn't want to do anything in the summer because too many people are away.
Maynard Fest is usually the first Saturday in October. This year it ran into September because of Columbus Day.
Right.
I haven't looked at a calendar for a couple of years down, so I hope maybe we could go earlier in September.
We
If
actually
that
did look at some
became-
dates so that there wouldn't be a.
Yeah, it hasn't been firmly chosen.
My thought is avoid celebration fatigue. You know, I don't want to go to another parade. People
That's
will
a
go to the
problem. Why?
fireworks. People will go to the fireworks, but, you know.
Yes, yeah. The other idea is having tiers of sponsorship. We're just beginning on that too, so a high level, platinum, gold, silver, trying to get all aspects of a financial contribution included, maybe larger company asking larger amount. Just trying to make it accessible for sponsors. The other thing that Hudson shared with me, that Sarah Cressy from the Assabet Chamber, they did the banners downtown, which were very successful. There was a fairly low cost in those, and then they asked a business to sponsor it and have their name on it, and then they accelerated the cost.
Like the ones on the lights?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, you know, those kinds of things, low cost up front, and then try and get some revenue back from it in the back end.
And if I could add that the sponsors list would be published in the book, would be included in the book. So that would be basically a permanent thing with a page with the sponsors, again, platinum, gold, silver, bronze.
One of the things we're trying to make a connection with, if any of you can help us, is with the mill. The mill is going to be a big part of this celebration. It's on our symbol. We're hoping they can, you know, contribute in financially and other ways. So we'd like some names or contacts that we can
You got those?
we can reach out to. So, okay.
Shoot me an email with what you want to do, and then we'll
Okay.
set it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, the future of 129 could be somebody there, too.
Yep.
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 So now, you said that your timeline is, so you're looking for the seed money now, because you have to start setting up contracts and things. Do they typically set up 3 years in advance for like fireworks and all that other
Parades
stuff?
and
Or
stuff.
bands, or how does that work?
Like the one of the ideas we had was the Boston Fife and Drum, Pipe and Drum, Fife and Drum, and they're already a year out for a date. And, you know, we certainly didn't want to commit to anything until we knew we could pay them. So that was just one example. And then we looked at hosting some kind of concert, but it's really expensive to get an artist to come in and do a concert. We had somebody in the committee do some research, and it's really expensive. And they're also very far out. So we were afraid of, we can't miss this timeline. We can't celebrate in 2021. So that's why we're asking for it now, is to make sure we have some funding. We've no idea what fireworks cost.
Also, the book is only a year and a half out, because that, once we want that for the opening of the time capsule, so we can sell at events during the course of the year, you know, historical talks. So that one, it definitely needs to be, you know, soon. It's not, it is a year and a half out and has to move.
So when are you looking for immediate money, or could it wait till, say, a Springtown meeting that gets an approved, I don't know?
I would say the
cash, I don't
book
know.
is probably the most imminent commitment. I don't know when they need their actual funds, but we need to.
They want 20% on signing, but if we're gonna, if we can get a commitment and a contract, you know, I've got less than a year to write, and it seems like a long time, and it's not. So I haven't committed to, you know, getting that on paper yet, but it's mostly going to be me, and it's going to be 50,000 words, and I just want to make sure that it's not forgot.
Do you plan on, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, are you gonna be volunteering your time to do all that writing?
Yes. Actually, everyone on the
Very
committee.
generous.
So
Yeah.
also, not only that, but the royalties from the sale of the book will go to the town. So all sales of the book by the town, plus sales at the paper store and sales online, all of the royalties will come to the town.
That's so generous, thank you.
This is all going to be new prose, in other words, not stuff that you've written before compiled, or some of that, or?
Some of it. There'll be some cannibalization of past content, especially, you know, what I've written about how Maynard became Maynard and about the Maynard family. One reason I want to go with the History Press is, since this book is with them, there's no copyright infringement or problem. They'll allow me to recycle content.
Yep.
But there'll be a lot of new content, as outlined in the table of contents.
So this is looking, it's in the motion, so I'm just wondering, who told you to go to the Downtown Enhancement Fund? Andrew? It says that they looking for the 25,000 specifically from the Downtown Enhancement account.
So why did it come
No?
from that?
Huh?
I did not make that recommendation.
Do you know, I mean,
I'm not sure who made that recommendation. Do y'all know who why that particular account?
Well, I think the only issue is that if we vote on this motion as it's before us, it has to come out of there. And is that the right place for the money to come out of? The Downtown Enhancement Fund?
Also, puts a
Well,
huge dent in
immediate
that
is
account.
probably the case, but
Right, it would be
if
more
we
than
could
half
wait
what
till
we have.
spring,
That's potential too, but I don't want to tell you promises about where we could, but yes, we could look at that as incorporating it into our budget.
that's the point, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, I don't know why that particular account was, it seems relatively
We didn't
appropriate,
know
but I
about
don't, I mean, we could do more research if you would like.
I don't know how much is in it right now, but I'm sure there's more than
It's like
25,000.
Right, it's $40,762 are in it. But we,
You know how
oh, it's in the packet.
In the
I
package.
just know that stuff. No,
There's a line item and shows that account.
No, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, at whose suggestion is that the particular account? That was all. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with coming. I was just wondering where that came from.
Just want the money.
that's fair.
Because it's a pretty specific account.
Absolutely. And we could have the Economic Development Committee weigh in, depending on.
I don't have a problem that it comes out of there. It's gonna benefit the downtown in the sense that that's where probably most of the activity will occur, so I don't see a problem with it. And that's it, basically.
I'm wondering if there's a way that we can take, and I'm not saying anything, not funding it by any means, but maybe funding it over 2 fiscal years, maybe split the difference, do 12.5 this year, it gets it going, and then we can look at it for next year, either incorporate it into free cash for the town, like part of the town warrant vote, or, revisit it again, this time next year for the rest of the money. And again, I'm not saying that I don't want to fund it either. I'm just saying that way we still keep a little bit more of I honestly don't know what the downtown enhancement money.
It's like the beat money.
I don't want to
stuff
take
like
it
that.
away if we are going to need that also.
Right, that's also.
Where especially if you're not going to need 25,000 today. So
We only give
that's
it,
kind
we
of
only give it to them as they need it.
So if your concern is we're depleting funds that we might be using elsewhere,
yeah.
I could have the Economic Development Committee provide you maybe their rough projections as to what they might use BEEP funds for. Because obviously we don't have the BEEP requests every week, so.
We also have the cultural council stuff too with like
Yeah, we
the
have
mural
no
projects and
bills
things like
right
that.
now, so
Okay,
I
so-
imagine.
I know you want to
The
make
main
a
thing is the
commitment
book.
for the book and everything
The book.
else. So we
So
don't
I-
want to hold anything up
If we
either.
approve it, we're not gonna give them
We're not
$25,000.
getting
We
a
still have the
check
money.
today.
It's just up to $25,000 out of that account, whether, it doesn't say whether it's FY '19, FY '20, or anything like that. So it wouldn't matter, as long,
Well,
If we commit to 25,000 today, can we re-vote later to allocate money from a different account if we find that there's a better funding source, as long as we
Yes,
still?
you can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
You
So-
can do that.
I mean, we
I
can
like it
do
a
that.
little more straightforward, and I'm sure they would too, just to have a little peace of mind that how much money they're getting and when, so they can move along with their action, but.
I was just proposing, like, we vote on the 25,000 from the downtown enhancement fund, but should other funding sources come along, we sub and replace in a future vote.
You can do that, of course.
Because we know this money's a guarantee and it's there in the account.
Sure.
So we change that motion to make sure that it doesn't reflect.
Well, we can leave it right, I don't know why we would change it. If we change it, I don't know why we would change it, but, I mean, to be honest, if you look at the centennial event in 1971, the town spent $32,000 in 2018 dollars is a mere $199,226. 25 is a bargain as far as I can tell. But so inflation,
We're very cheap.
inflation, the 1971 event cost $199,000, and we're only talking about 25. I think it's fair given what we've asked you folks to do. It doesn't seem like a
Well,
overwhelming
that's it.
amount.
We're the party planners with no money.
Yeah.
we want a great party.
And it depends on what you want for a party. So if we're,
1971 must have been a party.
It must have been awesome.
$99,000.
It was a year long.
it was year-long, yes. So ours maybe won't be as long.
Okay.
But we have to know ahead of time also what we can afford before we start going and asking for things. So I guess maybe, I don't know if it's a good time to ask now, if something comes up in the future and we all think it's a great idea, do we come back and,
Get more money.
You would have to.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Again, it'll depend on what we get for feedback and the expenses that come in, but we are trying our hardest to make it be a good party, but, if we only end up with 2 or 3 events, we hope they'll be good events.
Oh,
Okay.
We have like a king and queen of the event that we vote on.
What's that?
Have like a king and queen of the event that we vote on.
Do
You
lots
cast
of
your ballot.
things.
We're open to suggestions.
We can do auctions with lunch with the selectmen, parking spaces with, we take, yeah, we can do lots of things, lots of ideas.
One town raised money by having a dunk tank with the selectmen. So
I
don't
love
think
That'll
they
be
want
more popular.
Love it.
Let's not.
Can't swim.
I think all of our terms will be up.
Okay. All right, so I guess if we vote to approve this motion, that we're saying that there's $25,000 available in downtown enhancement, and, you know, the money will be allocated as needed. And, you know, as of right now, the only need that's foreseen and known would be the books, and you guys indicated History Press, so you're talking about a $1,300 expenditure, so I think we're safe for a little bit.
In downtown.
Yep.
We're also hoping to get a banner to hang on the fence downtown, just advertising the event.
Yeah,
Couple $100.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And by the way, once the slogan is determined, the Maynard High School art class is going to create the logo.
Or ask about
Okay.
any high school student.
Any high school
student.
Sorry, Pam.
Contest.
She's still here.
Yeah. Any
So,
high school student.
a high school student
Okay.
is going to create the logo
Okay.
A Maynard.
to
Okay.
incorporate
Town
the
of
slogan.
Maynard
Yeah.
Students.
Yes.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any other questions?
Have they thought about brick sales? Like selling bricks like they did in front of the high
To
school?
discuss it.
Or
What was that? I didn't hear you.
The
brick- selling bricks,
Yep,
and
Chuck
finding a walkway
Carginus is
that-
on our board too, so we talked about that.
whether it's the entrance to town hall or in front of town hall or
Pick up at the
somehow
park, Memorial Park.
Memorial Park, anywhere, you know. You can just coordinate with somebody to see if it works.
Yep.
You know, T-shirts, mugs, I mean, there's a lot of memorabilia items that can be sold once we have a slogan and a logo in place.
Even worse. Okay.
Yep.
Are you guys collaborating with ArtSpace at all for this stuff, or?
We will be. That was another idea that came from the Hudson. We already had thought of the art space, but the Hudson committee, they had a lot of their auxiliary organizations do their own event, but then somehow the funding, they were able to request funding from their own subcommittees to do other events. So we haven't even explored that yet. So that hopefully wouldn't even come near this budget. They would do their own events and they can request their own funding, like the Maynard Cultural Council, Historical Commission. They will do their own thing in addition to ours, coinciding with it, I guess.
But for example, the art space could have in the main gallery space a month-long, you know, art and history of Maynard, photography, photographs by artists in Maynard, paintings about Maynard and about Maynard's sesquicentennial, and that could be a gallery show and an event to help publicize the town's events.
And how often are you guys meeting at this point?
Once a month.
Once a
And
month.
now monthly.
The first
Monthly.
the first Monday of the month.
We've probably had 12 meetings.
How many members on the committee?
10.
10.
And I'm sure you're going to need a big army of people.
We're looking to expand with subcommittees and looking for volunteers with a sign-up sheet at
Maynard Fest.
Maynard Fest and at the town meeting in the spring.
I think once we have specific events, it's going to be easier to say, okay, we need a parade committee, we need a concert committee, we need a fireworks committee. Once we can, then we're going to be recruiting, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Any more questions? All right, the motion is before us. Would anyone like me to reread the motion? Okay, then all those in favor? Thank you, and thank you for all your obvious hard work.
Thank you.
I guess we get the PowerPoint next time.
Okay.
There are any.
Okay,
there are
good. We did well.
In the pipeline. It says that they'll be submitted through the town administrator's office. Okay.
Come in through the minutes.
In process right now?
Okay.
There's nothing in the pipeline at this point, is there?
Someone fire it up here.
Bill Nemser would know off the top of his head.
Okay.
I think it
Right,
was more
not that I've heard of.
It sucks.
I would say no.
All right, let's, we're on to item number 9, which is the contract authorization for Stan Tech Consulting Services. And the motion is move to approve the contract for the engineering services at White's Pond Evaluation. And it's, again, it's Stantec Consulting. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay. So there's contract, and there's also a memo from the DPW regarding the consulting.
I wonder who's in picture.
Okay.
I concur with Aaron McClesko, Director of Public Works, his recommendation to move forward with the contract. I looked it over. Stantec is a reputable firm. White Pond is something we need to be pursuing now, and I agree with Aaron's. I mean, it was approved at town meeting regardless for the use of the funds. But since I've come on board, he's really been filling me in on the scope of concerns that we have for the water supply. We still have the restrictions out front throughout the town. And the only way we're going to be able to answer that in the future is if we aggressively pursue White Pond.
All right, so it was approved at the May 2018 town meeting. This is just a contract finalizing the work to be done.
Well, the money was approved, the
money was approved.
the firm, et cetera.
Right, this is the, right, the
Yeah.
monies were appropriated.
Correct.
This is the final step. Okay? Anybody have any comments, questions? Greg?
Other than what he just said.
Other than what you just said, yeah. Okay? All right. Being no questions, all those in favor?
This gentleman has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Vic, go ahead.
It's all right. I'd just like to make a comment. I made a comment when I stood at that
Yes, you did.
podium earlier in the evening, and I honestly believe that the board should investigate a little further, because I honestly believe there is a conflict of interest with Stantec, even though the developer of Powder Mill Place has paid for that sewer survey, and, you know, I honestly believe there's a conflict there.
What's the,
But
well,
if you don't feel that way, that's fine.
having somebody evaluate a recording done by Wayne's Drains, which is what they did. They evaluated a recording done by Wayne's Drains, basically, right?
I have papers at the store that show that they did the survey, okay, for the
Yep.
sewer line.
Yeah.
There are pictures and everything in it showing, you know, vitreous china pipe that's falling apart, and they recommend 185 feet of replacement, and so many 85 feet of replacement and 185 feet to line. And as far as I'm concerned, if anybody reads that with no bias, what this engineering firm did, as far as I'm concerned, and it's my own opinion, that what they have said in that survey for that sewer line to the pump station behind my store, okay, they proposed the cheapest method for the developer to meet that criteria. They only proposed replacing 85 feet of pipe. The rest of it was, and there's been a problem down there for a good many years. And it mentions it right in their survey. The pipe is not pitched properly, so you get backups. I don't know how they're gonna do that, because if you take an 8-inch pipe and you line it, now you've reduced the diameter of the pipe, so it's not gonna be able to carry as much volume. And I honestly believe, this is my own opinion, that they are in conflict if you sign this contract to hire them, once again, to be the consultants for the town. Even though the developer, as I say, has paid for their services, which, I mean, you know, if you want to make $1 million, you gotta invest a couple of bucks, and that's what they're doing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I believe
Okay.
we've used Stantec before, correct?
Yeah, we use them regularly.
We use them on an ongoing basis for several different types of services. I don't know why this would be a conflict. They're providing a, you know, water from White's Pond has nothing to do with a certain number of feet of pipe in another section of town. But
I didn't mention water from White's Pond, Mr. Chairman.
I know you didn't, but specifically this article does. Whether you want to mention it or not. You also, when you sat up there earlier and read what you had to read, you read verbatim what you wanted us to hear and what was questionable. You didn't read verbatim because that suited your needs. So I'm telling you, this is White's Pond. So if you want to read, when you stand there, read verbatim everything or nothing, okay? You read verbatim what you wanted us to hear, and then when you got to the part that was a little cloudy, it was a shuffle of the papers and it was your opinion. So,
What I said to you the
White's
other
Pond,
night-
this is, I'm not going to interrupt you, but
Well-
this is specifically an article for White's Pond. This has nothing to do with 800 feet of pipe from one section of town to the other. Stantec has been a long-term vendor of the towns with no problems in the past.
You must be aware, Mr. Chairman, that we do have a water problem in this town.
No kidding.
Because if you're not aware of it...
Thank God you're here to tell
hold
me
your
that.
head under a
Thank God
blanket.
that you're here to tell me that, Vic.
But
I
Mr.
appreciate
Chairman,
it.
in all due respect,
Yeah,
I will repeat what I said
okay.
at the meeting at the country club. Said if you're gonna request, okay?
I'm listening.
Whatever they call it, funds from these developers.
Mhm.
I requested that the board, when they ask for those funds, they ask for money to put White's Pond back online and put each donation, or whatever you call it, into an escrow fund. Because every time I mention a water supply, and the best one we're gonna ever have is over to White's Pond, everybody says, oh, $16 million. Well, if they'd have done it originally, the 16 million would have been anywhere near that. But everybody seems to be ignoring that source of water. And someday, when you turn on the faucet and it don't come out, you're gonna be sorry. I'm 87 years old, I'm going down the hill. I could give a damn
but-
You're
less.
killing me,
Vic,
Vic. Vic, this is exactly
this is about.
exactly what you're asking us to do is what we're doing. What you told us to do the other night at the country club is exactly what we're doing. Is we have a source of water at White's Pond that we have access to. This is the first step in trying to get that water into the town of Maynard so we can eliminate the water bans and be secure, and that we have enough water to provide everyone water when they turn their sewer on, whether 87 or 7. That's exactly what we're doing.
Well, that's good, I'm glad you're doing it.
So I don't understand, but to suggest that Stantec has a conflict of interest because they did something for us somewhere and someone else paid for it is, if you would like, I could run this by the town council and ask them if they see a conflict of interest. How would that be?
Mr.
And I
Chairman,
will provide you the documentation next time we meet in this room. I will give you the documentation from town council when I ask them if they see a conflict of interest with Stantec signing this contract with the town and with the prior study that they did on Powder Mill Road. Would you like that?
Mr.
I'm just
Chairman,
asking you if it suits your needs.
I have a bit of a hearing loss, so I'm missing half of maybe what you're saying.
All right, I'm gonna repeat it.
But anyway...
I'm gonna repeat it. Don't interrupt me while I repeat it.
I'm not gonna carry the conversation further because neither one of us are gonna make any headway
No.
on it. But
Here's-
thanks a lot for the privilege.
What I said, right, so you can hear me, what I said was, I will ask town council if they see a conflict of interest in the White's Pond contract that we're talking about right now with Stantec, and is there a conflict of interest that they see with the Powder Mill Road evaluation that they did? And then I'll get you the answer for that next time we see each other. Or I'll deliver it to the store, either way.
Said I'm not gonna comment, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
okay.
I've had my shot, thank you.
All right, sir. I appreciate it. Did we vote?
Yep.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Vic. That's why you keep coming back.
I hope I can continue to do it, but I have some doubts.
I hope so, too. I missed you when you weren't here.
Thanks for the privilege.
All right. So, anyway, next up is a contract with Detour Construction LLC, and a motion is moved to approve the contract for the construction of sidewalks, curb ramps, and curbs to Detour Construction LLC. We have a second.
Second?
Mr. Town Administrator, can you tell us what this one is for?
So in our attempts to execute our pavement management plan, including the, including the sidewalk reconstruction and whatnot, I was given a tour by Aaron McClesko, the Director of Public Works, and Wayne Amico, our town engineer. They pointed out some of the roads that they were going to be proposing, and they seem suitable. Summer Street and, off the top of the head, what's Great Road, right? And they're certainly main thoroughfares throughout town, particularly for pedestrian traffic. They're so, it is obvious that we need to address those needs of the pedestrians and sidewalks and whatnot. And this contract would address that.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this contract? All right. All those in favor? Okay. All right. Next is number 11, which is the continuance of the water and sewer discussion about the abatement at Florida Court. So I'm going to make a motion. I don't intend to vote because I have a conflict of interest in that one of the two people who are petitioning for the abatement is a relative of my daughter-in-law, so I won't vote, but I'll make the motion. And the motion is, that we move to approve the abatement at 1 Florida Court as previously discussed. Give a second.
Second?
Discussion.
So your motion is in the affirmative?
My motion is in the affirmative,
Um,
which means,
Based on the discussions we've had previously, I would not be in favor of that motion.
okay. All right.
So which motion is this?
So we're only gonna.
So this is the water abatement?
All we're gonna address at this time is the abatement.
Okay.
All the other issues and items that came up as part of this discussion are not on the table tonight because Aaron's not here to discuss his portion of them or anything else. And you guys made your point last week about the tiered structure of rates and the rating, and our next rate hearing isn't scheduled for a little while, so once we get to our next rate hearing, that will come up again. So we're just gonna vote on the abatement.
Can I give an update on just because I know that in the notes before, the Board of Selectmen were wondering if the town of Maynard come to inspect the building they did, and just to give you an update, they said, yeah, it looks pretty bad. So it's kind of where we stand.
Okay. All right.
What is the motion
The
again?
motion is to approve the abatement.
The motion is to approve the abatement. So if you approve the abatement, you know, that's one thing. So if you disapprove of the abatement, then you would vote no. If you approved of the abatement, you would vote yes. You know, I'm not voting, so. Any other comments amongst the four of us, five voting? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion which would approve for the abatement? Opposed? Okay, so that's that.
Is it okay if so what would be the process to look at the rates and the policy that applies to metering and?
The rates and the policy that apply to the metering will be, we have already discussed that in the last couple of times you guys have been in, and after the last discussion we had, which was the 2nd of November, I believe, October, we agreed that we would make that discussion a part of our next rate-setting process.
Which is like a year and a half.
Which is like a year and a half from now.
It could
Because
be.
we're not, I don't think they're anticipating raising the rates, or changing the rates this year. I think.
There is not a change in the rate schedule for this year. So when we meet next to discuss the, those issues, that's when we'll talk about it.
So I think the reason why I brought this to the town's attention was so that we could not wait a year and a half to address that. So I guess my question to the board is what's the process to expedite that and look at that a bit earlier by chance, or at least have that presented?
Look,
a year and a half. I mean,
it won't change before a year and a half because the rates won't change for a year and a half.
okay.
So it's not going to change for a year and a half. So prior to the rate-setting hearings, at our next rate-setting hearings, it will have been addressed.
I think it's.
I can't tell you when we're going to put it on the agenda.
So I get that. What my point is, so you mentioned that the rates won't change for a year and a half. I guess the point of the abatement was to say, let's not wait a year and a half to re-examine but expedite, because I laid out in the data that I provided to the board in our last meeting, it's a pretty significant amount of money that is being levied on, renters, people who live in multifamily homes.
I guess it's theoretical that the board could call a rate hearing to confirm that there will be no rate change. And during that discussion, theoretical as it may be, there could be, part of that discussion could be this issue. But I'm one member. I don't call rate hearings on my own. So that is a theoretical approach to having the matter discussed. But I don't know if it's really makes sense to do that. I don't know.
So I would submit that it does, and I guess
I figured you would.
So I would leave it to the board to request that the board consider that, to revisit the rates earlier than anticipated, because this is something that, it's important.
Okay. Yes,
I'd just like to ask a question for information.
okay.
What is the dollar amount of the voted abatement?
I don't have it in front of me.
It's just over $1,700.
Was that
$1,700.
1,700? You brought that down pretty good.
Well, that was that's what it always was, I believe. But.
Okay. Yep.
I would just bring to the table that it might be prudent to revisit it before a year and a half with all of the development that's happening in Maynard. If a new policy was to be put in place, it could have an effect in a year and a half on new multifamily dwellings who would be affected one way or the other. So I just think Maynard's in a boom time, so that's
Okay.
my 10 cents.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We'll take it under consideration. And there's much more to consider as well. There's tiered structures, there's all sorts of other issues involved, so it would basically mean rebuilding the entire water rate structure, and I don't know that we're, prepared to do that and when we would be, but we'll start the discussion internally. That's the best I can do.
So, So is this going to be on the agenda in later in later Board of Selectmen meetings, or
At some point, it will be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point, we'll have it as an agenda item to discuss. Certainly are posted, they're all posted, everything we do is posted. So, yep, it will be. I don't know the date when it will be, or how quick it will be. I mean, there's any variety of other issues that we're dealing with constantly throughout the year, budgets and other things, so, we'll get this on there as soon as we have a date where it fits in the, in the overall scheme of things. We have tax rate hearings and those type of things coming up over the next month, and budget hearings and those type of issues. So we need to deal with those, and as soon as we can fit it in, we'll fit it in. It's a size, and it's also a sizable undertaking to, to do what you've requested, if we agree to do it, and then it's also there's several other people that would be involved, which would be the town's water and sewer consultants and those experts and all that. So it's a sizable undertaking. It's not just the five of us. It involves, DPW, all those other people. And, oh, by the way, those other people charge us a lot of money for their opinions.
So I'd submit that their opinions in the past probably weren't justified in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not getting into their opinions.
Yeah.
Subject over.
That's my comment to the board,
Okay.
is that I would revisit who you contract with for consulting and that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 12, town meeting. Move to accept and approve the special town meeting warrant on Thursday, November 8th, 2018 at the Fowler School Auditorium. Do a second.
Second.
Okay. I don't know, anyone have any discussion about this or information? other than
Beyond
town
what I
meeting is
provided?
scheduled for the 8th. The time isn't the 8th, but the time isn't on here, but I assume the time is 7 o'clock PM?
Yep,
It's on, yes, there's,
it's on the public notice.
there's the requisite public hearing through the Finance Committee scheduled for, I was looking at, there,
22nd,
there you go.
next Monday.
Next Monday, for the Finance Committee. Ken Estabrook, Chair of the Finance Committee.
Okay.
So,
Does anybody have any further questions or comments about the special town meeting date?
Next Monday.
Okay, all those in favor? Town meeting, November 8th, 7 PM.
We're not taking any public comment. We're not taking any public comment.
That boy Ken. Just wrecked his day. All right, we have a request to film in Maynard. Lieutenant Noble is gonna fill us in on that. Do we need to vote on this, or
no, it's a notice.
just a notice? So Lieutenant Noble is here to address the issue if anyone has any questions. Apparently he's the,
Are you gonna be in the
If you want him
I was gonna say something too.
oh, okay.
So, in that, I have invited him to come.
Oh, okay.
No, so we were notified pretty late, admittedly. I didn't like how quickly, or how little notice we were given to this. But from time to time, we are approached as a town, just as many other towns, as a potential location for filming. This time they were serious and they didn't give us much turnaround. Fortunately, we have a great responsive staff, so we provided to the fire department, police department, Department of Public Works, and they have been quite responsive. So much so that the police department, represented by Lieutenant Noble, but as well as Chief Dubois, met. I don't know if the lieutenant did, but Chief walked down there today.
Yeah.
And met the participants for the shooting location. I happened coincidentally to be. I received a phone call from the location scout himself this evening. I spoke with him, and I emphasized that they need to be working hand in hand with the police department in particular, especially as they move towards certain street closures and whatnot. Right. So although it's not written as a motion, when we do approve certain other street closures and whatnot, the board has acted on that, has provided a motion. So. The catch is, I don't know exactly, I'll have to look. We do know the two dates in particular that they would like to do street closures, October 31st, 2018 and November 30th, 2018. Sort of minimal, you could approve those two street closures in accordance to the plans, and I would say in coordination with the police department. Basically, as I told the police, if they're not comfortable with it, I'm not comfortable with it.
So, I mean, I guess the question is, do we need to vote? I mean, if it's just I don't.
Street closures are typically approved. Go ahead,
Long-term
Nate.
ones.
Is this all day,
Street
or-
closing is typically approved. This would be more like a Verizon detail that requires traffic to be stopped for maybe a couple of minutes and then reopened. It's technically a street closing, but it's not the type that typically comes in front of the board.
The only comment I would make that would be to make sure our business community is aware that it's going on. I don't think they'll have a problem, because it's probably good business for them to have that type of thing. I think,
I got a few negative comments today from business owners, so I think the key is really just communication with them. They're afraid that the streets are going to be closed for the majority of the day downtown, and I think they just need to know what's going on.
We, from speaking with them, the chief spoke with them today, and me and the chief had a meeting, and it's not going to be closed for much time. When they shoot the scene and when they do this, most of it is set up. Most of it is, getting whatever they do, lighting and all of this, getting things. So they will only be in the street or doing the scenes for a short period of the day, but they will be there all day.
Right, and it does.
They're from what they said is 8 in the morning till 9 p.m.
It does seem that parking is going to have a huge impact on downtown businesses too, based on this letter that they want to take up like all of Sudbury Street and most of the metered parking for trucks.
From what we understood is they're going to take up, they're going to request from Miller, Maine, 5 Clock Tower Place, Sudbury Street lot. They're going to park there. That's where their trail is and all of that. Then they want to go behind, just the town parking behind Gruber Brothers.
Okay, just that section to the left. You would still keep up, all of that would still be open. So it's really not that much an area that they're asking.
All right, so
One thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So in speaking with this location scout, he did say if they were good to spill into any metered parking and whatnot, he would notify the police department first, because we would need to be compensated, just as we would any other vehicle that was parked there.
Right, and you don't, okay. You don't see any concern, Halloween, like that evening?
No, because it's hot. We have the downtown trick or treat. That's the Thursday before,
Right.
so that doesn't interfere. And not many people go trick or treating downtown. It's in neighborhoods in certain areas of the town, because we did discuss that being Halloween night, just for purposes of manpower too. Because we said, I mean, minimum is going to need at least 2 detail officers just to keep, either crowd control or just to take care of the issues problem. But at times, it might be even up to 4 officers that are needed, depending on what they want to do. They said they would contact us more when they know. They don't have the complete idea of exactly how they're going to do it yet.
Okay.
They were all down there this afternoon, a whole bunch of them.
So they'll come down, and then they'll come with a plan, and then you guys kind of decide how many officers you'll need to...
Exactly. Well, we told them it's a minimum 2.
Right.
Minimum 2 for the day, and then maybe add 2 when they get more towards the timing of it. Because a lot of it is prep work, set up, and then they shoot, and then they got to look at the filming and then shoot again. So,
As far as I'm concerned, this is an economic development.
some of the stuff I've heard that they're renting out, some
Because
of the business is going to do very well.
And then, the film itself typically will put filmed in, partially filmed in, thank you to Maynard, Massachusetts, whatever, anything that gets our name out there and
Right.
anything that gets.
Well, it'll bring
our
people downtown, and while they wait, they're going to want to eat something.
so
I just want to,
But I just want to make sure that we are
Take money out.
communicating with the business.
See Daniel Craig get a check account?
I just want to echo Melissa's concern about the businesses, that's all. I mean, we just want to make sure that we give them a heads up way in advance so they could plan on what needs to be done.
We said that when we talked to them, the parking and the convenience of access to businesses. We said those are the 2 concerns that people will have here. And from what they said, where they had the requests, so far it'll be very minimal. And it actually, like I said, from some of the stuff that they're renting out, a few businesses that don't do movie type of stuff, but they're gonna pay the businesses to use their stores, so they're gonna do well.
Can I just mention
Sounds
about
good.
downtown trick-or-treating? That's from 4 to 6:30, and it's all of downtown.
But it's not on that, it's not on
4 to
that
6
same
on the
night.
Thursday.
On the 25th,
Right, but
yeah.
on the agenda, it said they'll actually be here doing setup on that 25th. So, it just,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
No, you're right
that's
to
an
bring it up.
area that's,
okay.
Exactly the deconfliction that we've been trying to address.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So that'll still be,
Yeah, I will.
Be
I mean,
interfering with
if
anything.
they bring that, if that's going to be, we will tell them that they can't be doing anything in that area for between 4 and 6.
Yeah, they
Because
seem
it
to
is
be-
funny how I've worked that detail many times, and
they
I'm
said
going to work it
trucks
again
will
this
be
year.
coming in on the agenda, and that date will be decorating, and so the chamber was just concerned that,
Fair. And
Yeah.
when I spoke to the location scout, he did say that he needs to be receptive to our concerns, and he seemed to be that he was. But also, he's not trying to discourage the businesses or any of the town staff and whatnot. But so we're trying to be good partners. We are trying to be very welcoming of their business, because we do see it as that kind of business. But at the same time, we are also asking that both parties be sensitive to the other's needs. But thank you for bringing that up, Paula. You are right, and it's something that we need to make sure is deconflicted.
They said they'd be in close contact with the police department, on things like that. And the downtown trick or treat, like I said, I work it every year, so I know exactly what
yeah.
the needs
Just
are.
thousands of little kids
Yeah.
running
Okay.
around.
Yeah. So, and we shut down the downtown anyways at that time, so they wouldn't be able to get in or out.
you have to stay there.
All right.
That's it. If you want to know,
That's-
JBJ hit a grand slam, so the Sox are up 8-2.
Yeah, it was a grand slam, right?
Anybody wants, what about other people that want to wait till they get home to watch it on tape? I should say cover your ears.
You can't say baseball.
Who hit the grand slam, bro?
JBJ.
JBJ.
Nice.
My phone is blowing up. All right, please, Joel, join us.
And my wife adds that the picture that they brought in walked 3 players, and he was suspended for 75 games before tonight's game, and that's how he came back.
Nice.
Hit 2 players.
Hit 2
By
players?
pitch,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's okay. No, It's okay.
All right.
Good evening.
That was always game 4.
So,
Joel, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Joel Kahn with Equity Alliance here representing the proponent regarding the LIP application in front of the board.
so I think the reason why we agreed that we wanted to ask you to come in tonight was because at our last meeting, after a conversation you and I had on the telephone, you had indicated to me that the project was no longer in need of our sewer service, or no longer wanting to use our sewer service because you had, had another arrangement. So we just wanted to hear that from you, and then kind of maybe touch on not any specifics or anything tonight, but just kind of what we all think in this room are the next steps, or next potential steps along this road.
In which, as you might imagine, I have an opinion, but we'll get to that part.
Yep.
So what happened is after we had the public hearing at the high school, I mean, I sat up there and faced 100 plus some odd people and listened carefully to what was said, and it was, obvious that sentiment in the town was of great concern regarding the issue of sewer being provided to a project in another town. We had been all along trying to investigate how, in fact, we could address the concerns that Acton had regarding their limitations on sewer. And their limitations stems from a requirement that all sewer departments must face with the state, is that they analyze not just the gallon that goes through the plant on a daily basis, but they look for peak events over some period in the past. And Acton, and I'm sure Maynard, if you looked at it from a graph chart, would find that there were peak events on high rainstorms or big snow melts, where in fact other water was getting into the system, leading to a peak in their system. As a result, that was limiting their ability to take, limiting on how much gallonage they had available. And in a conversation with our engineer, he suddenly, a light bulb went on. He says, well, what if we built them a holding tank that in the event of a high peaked event, that they can in fact store up to 3, 4, 5 days worth of sewage, and then introduce it into the plant once the peak event had taken place, or in the middle of the night, or whenever the particular case might be. And in Acton case, it's really not necessarily the plant itself that's in question, it's the field, and they're in the process of trying to go through an expansion now. And so we approached the town of Acton with the idea, and they were very much interested in it. We brought it to the Board of Selectmen as part of our LIP application, and the Board of Selectmen that night granted approval of our application and are drafting a letter that will basically touch on 2 issues that it would be sort of contingent on, or 3, I guess, in essence, is that one, that obviously that this sewer issue needs to be further vetted. It was done on a conceptual basis, and there is much work to be done to actually prove out that it'll work. If it does, it's been done in the Commonwealth before. In one other particular instance, it actually offers an interesting solution to other communities that may be faced with the same dilemma over time of how, in fact, when they have a plant that can process more, what do they do when, in fact, they're limited by these peak events that occur. The second one, which you all spent time analyzing, and they want the same right to analyze it as well as to look at traffic. Our focus when we did our peer report here for the town, in which it was subsequently reviewed by your peer review agent, spent some time discussing, and they would like to obviously sit down and talk about traffic as it relates to Acton, which is only fair and reasonable as well. And generally that was what the conditions would be, and they went one step further by saying that between now, we laid out where if Maynard was to move forward, if the process moved forward, that we would try to work out with them a finalization of the memorandum of agreement with them that would address these points prior to early February of 2019. And it really, again, came, you know, people think that I come here just because my wife wants me out of the house, but I actually, you know, I listen. And, you know, and I believe that a truly proper relationship with a developer, with a town, is that it's an interactive approach where, in fact, you know, that the needs of the towns are not simply ignored. And so we went back and we pushed the envelope and came up with this solution.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Joel in that regard?
And by the way, I called the chairman the day afterwards. It was not any staging of timing or anything else. It just happened to be the day after. Their hearing was, I think, on a Monday night, and yours is on Tuesday.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions for Joel in regards to that part of the discussion? Okay.
Are you asking if the public has any questions or just the board?
No, I'm just asking the board, but, I mean, if you have a reasonable question, I guess we always entertain those.
I have one quick comment, Mr. Khan, thank you for coming. Your first comment when you sat down was that you're here to talk about the LIP application that's in front of the board. And I'm questioning the fact that because the LIP application that's currently on my screen in front of me talks about Maynard providing sewer and public sewage, et cetera, is the LIP application that we have exactly the same as Acton's?
Yes, it is. If you notice the application in detail, and I've yet to amend it, of course I will amend it.
Well, that's my question.
Yeah, well,
I think we should have an amended LIP before you're saying that the LIP that we're discussing is in front of us.
technically the answer is correct, but I think we...
That's all. Thank you.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Also, kind of tangential to that, the memorandum of understanding that you submitted a few months ago, or about a month ago, I mean, it's moot at this point. Do you have an intention of providing us with an updated memorandum of understanding?
Well, the answer to that question is yes. Obviously, the mitigation package based on Maynard no longer providing sewage to Acton changes. It does not mean that we do not recognize that there is something that needs to be discussed. The town has issues. They've obviously, in discussions before, provided me a wish list. The answer is yes, it needs to be done. My hope would be it would be an interactive discussion regarding of what that might look like in some proportional aspect. But yes, it would change.
Is there a timeline on that?
I'm prepared to sit down anytime and discuss it. Again, this is all happening over the course of the last week and a half or 2 weeks, so but I'm here tonight, and one of the things I was going to suggest might be an avenue that we might approach is, and I know you all don't like the concept of work groups, but to sit down one time with just a small group of people and discuss what a mitigation package, and then immediately come back and just say that, hey, this is not something that has been agreed to, it's just an idea for discussion, and then come back to the board and have that discussion out in this particular venue. So, yes, I would.
Would your proposal have those working groups be public? I guess the answer is no.
That is really up to the chair in that regard. I mean,
I must tell you that private meetings are why we are in a situation where half the town is angry. Private meetings in prior projects have not worked. Every meeting should be public when you're talking about a public process.
And I'm happy to come back here to the next meeting and discuss about what a mitigation package might be fair and equitable between the parties. And I certainly can draft and put some changes to the one that was presented to you before as a place to discuss.
In a
Absolutely.
public process with public listening and all the board involved, the entire board, no working group.
That's fine. I have no issue with that. There's nothing I'm hiding.
I think it would be helpful personally, if we do go that down approach, if we have an updated memorandum of understanding given to us so that we have something that we could review and talk to you about at the next meeting, public or however we decide to do it.
I'll draft something up this week and submit it out. It's not a problem.
And I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know how everyone else feels about having that.
That's one of the things I wanted to establish tonight, because obviously I threw something that was unexpected on the table, and it has dominoes, and that's what's here in part to talk about it in terms of our process about how you would like to then proceed forward. So that's fine.
I think that, public the public meeting issue is, something that we've kind of agreed upon among the five of us, in the sense that we have had a working group. I wouldn't say that it didn't work, but, and also, a subcommittee is, in many cases, is a working group. I mean, we have many, many, many working groups in town right now doing work and doing things. Budget subcommittee is basically a working group. All these different committees and things are very similar to this, except some are just town people, some are town people and outside people, but we have them. In this instance, the discussion that this board has had is that we would like to do this in more of a public setting because there's a lot of interest. And I don't object to that, but I do think that before we start the process, this group of 5 people sitting here ought to set some ground rules for participation from the audience or anybody else that wants to become involved. Because if we sit here and try to attempt to negotiate with Joel, we entertain every question and every concern, every question from the audience, we'll be here a very long time. And that's just not really how you negotiate any contract anywhere.
I don't think, when we've done this in the past with major projects, and we had open meetings, every meeting that we had, let me remind everyone, the first effort that we had with a major project, 129 Parker Street, which was done without open meetings, failed miserably in front of town meeting. Why? Because of mistrust about the process and the way it worked. I'm looking to have a successful project for the town of Maynard that works for all of us and is successful for all of us. History has shown us that the only way it works is if the meetings are public. That doesn't mean that the public gets to participate openly and make comments and raise their hand whenever they want to if we set those ground rules. I would also point out, Chris, that the subcommittees that we have, and there are a lot of them, but they're all public meetings. They're all posted, they're all open to the public, and any member of the public that wants to come in and sit and listen can. We have no meetings that I'm aware of, I hope, that subcommittees are holding meetings privately, because that's a violation of the open meeting law. And so any meeting that is set up, so if we were to create a working group, my understanding would be if we identify more than one individual that is going out to communicate as a team with an identified purpose, it must be a public meeting posted. It must be with minutes.
I believe it's more than 2.
I believe we were told by council when we met in executive session at one point, and Andrew was the acting town administrator, and he came in and said these meetings with 2 people cannot continue because we had gotten information from town council to suggest that. To change that now would be an interesting approach, but I don't think I.
No one's looking to change it anyway. So I mean, no one's asking for a change. Period. I mean, no one's asked for that change. I'm just saying that, if we are going to negotiate and we're going to negotiate with an audience, that's fine. Negotiation doesn't take place with audience interaction. If someone wants to sit through the process and hear the process and view the process so they understand what happened and how we got to, point A from point A to point B and further, they're welcome to sit in and listen. They are not welcome to participate, and those ground rules need to be established up front. We had the public meeting. Right now, the result of the public meeting is he not only made a change that all those people who came to the public meeting and more wanted to see, so he reacted to our public meeting in what I consider a positive way. But now we're talking about what we spoke about here, the 5 of us, that we would like to have all the future meetings in regards to this project be public. But that does not mean public participation. Public participation is...
I absolutely agree with you.
Okay, so now that we agree, that's fine. 3 of us agree. Do you folks feel the same way?
I do.
Because
yes, I do.
when we move forward with Joel, and Joel comes back and gives us an MOA, I'm not taking questions from the public. Okay? You were all okay with that?
We're okay with that.
Public, you're okay with that, David? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, I just want to hear you say yes, so when I say no to that guy over there, or that lady over there, that you're not telling people this has to happen, because it's not going to happen, because you don't negotiate with 35 people in the room.
Well,
6 is enough.
We sat
7.
through, and you were with me, when we sat in this very room and negotiated out terms of a memorandum of agreement with the
And
Parker
no one
Street-
showed up.
with the Parker Street folks. No, that's not true. We had 3 or 4 or 5 people in the meeting
Vic
almost every single
came.
time, and
But
it was a
anyway.
public process. The first time it was not. The second time it was, and what happened? It was successful because people trusted the process.
I
Was it a
understand.
great outcome? Possibly not, but that's hindsight. But it was a positive, open process that worked at the end of the day. And that's all I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
okay,
Not
that's-
meetings that
We agree.
are working groups.
We agree.
I'm-
We agree.
Outdoors.
David, I'm in agreement too. I have no problem with it. And all I ask is a very simple thing, is that, whether or not it was, in the end, the right thing, the wrong thing to do, but the effort has been made for a year and a half to work through a process, to go through peer reviews of certain aspects to it. And all I would like to do is to reach a point where either we will agree to disagree or agree and work out something, an arrangement, because if that's not the case, then I need to go to Plan B, which I have in place. And all I ask out of fairness of our relationship is to reach that point soon. Acton has stated its opinion, but Acton is not Maynard. Everybody has their own different views of it and different approach. And so I respect that greatly, and all I ask, if we can do that, I'm all for it, and I will certainly come back as soon as you can put me on the agenda. It does not take me long to make a change, to now note on an application that it's been changed, and to, honestly, the document itself is really the same. What's changes is some of the dollar amounts in some of those categories.
The next
So-
meeting is November 5th or 7th?
Yes.
So,
7th.
The next regular meeting is the 7th.
So our next meeting is November 7th. Does that give you enough time?
It's fine by me.
Okay.
Thanks for the use of the hall, Mr. Chairman.
You have a nice night.
Too, Vic.
May I ask a question?
You can.
Thank you.
I was gonna get to you.
So, Ken Esper, 28 McKinley Street. I got a couple of questions here. We had a finance committee meeting yesterday, and we had a discussion about the upcoming vote. And I think there's a lot of confusion about what the process is, what the Board of Selectmen's process is.
Which process?
The entire process from the time when the developer expresses interest, which was a long time ago, more than a year, expressed initial interest, and then there were some initial discussions with town officials leading up to the submittal of the official formal application. And at that point then, you have an application that you can discuss in an open meeting, and did discuss in an open meeting. And then there are discussions that are going on, and now there's obviously a major change going on with the change of Acton now providing the sewer services. I think, already has been pointed out, there's a memorandum, an MOA that's going to have to be rewritten. On the other hand, it might have to be rewritten again. I mean, I'm guessing the Department of Environmental Protection there's going to be an application process to run a line underneath the river and
We're not sure we're going to do that. There's no
well,
alternative.
whatever the
Whatever.
process is, at some point, the process is going to have to get approved by someone. Or it doesn't get approved, in which case the developer might be back here saying, hey, I'd like to restart the conversation. I do disagree with the premise that this process needs to be done in open meeting all the time. I think there are a lot of discussions when there is an application in process where it doesn't necessarily need to be done in open meeting with wide participation. However, I think that the public does expect that when there is an established application, at certain points in time, when you all are actively considering and deliberating, that there is then meaningful, it is done in the open at that point, with meaningful opportunities for input on such an important decision.
So, and I appreciate that, and one of the things that I think that, unless I'm mistaken, and I could be to everyone else's opinion, but I think we're talking right now about, the discussion we're having right now is that to get an MOA negotiated and resolved as a precursor to our acceptance of the LIP. whether we endorse the LIP or not. So that's really all that we've discussed considering to this point.
Right.
And once we either endorse the LIP or not endorse the LIP, then we start to get into much more of the type of things I think you're alluding to, where, obviously the planning board is in play, the zoning board of appeals, and the rest of the community, and the rest of the town government becomes involved. It's, I mean, all those, we kind of, at that point, we kind of are, actually, once that is done, it kind of leaves us, in a sense, that it goes into those other venues and to those other boards. If I'm understanding the process from prior developments, whether they're not the same because of the LIP, I don't know, but that was the pattern before, was once we agreed to, do our piece, it went to other people and other boards to, deliberate, discuss, make decisions, and other things like that. So I'm guessing it's the same, right? I mean,
so I guess what I'm encouraging, though, is that if a process could be laid out on in a page and sort of say, here are the steps. The developer expresses interest. Okay, there are discussions with town officials, which included a couple of selectmen, and these are initial discussions. I've had a lot of people. I know you all have had a lot of people ask you about what's going on and so forth. I've had a lot of people who have asked me as well. And my own personal opinion is that the process has been working well, and we ought to, frankly, be letting you all do your job. I also would encourage that when an application has gotten to an established, settled point in time, you lay out a process and say, okay, at this point, we'll have an application, like the LIP application is now ready for us to discuss. We will discuss it. We will take input, meaningful input from the community, and consider that in our discussion. And then there will be another part of the process, once we enter into negotiations, where the public won't be involved. But before we go to vote as a board as a whole, we will bring this established application back into open meeting, and we will be discussing it taking community input in a meaningful way. And so you're telling then the community, the town, at what points they can expect that there will be an application that they can then assess, they can ask questions about, they can learn about, and so forth, and recognize that there are discussions that are happening in between that they don't necessarily need to be a party to, because they will have points later on when they can. So I guess that's the main question I have for you is, I would ask you to lay out that process in a page or two in terms of the steps and say, here are the steps that we've gone through. Here's where we expect the community to be able to be involved in a meaningful way to provide input. And we don't know when these will happen, but these will, they'll be noticed, and certainly a lot of people are going to be talking about it, so you'll have an opportunity to do that. The other question I had from the Finance Committee's perspective is that, as I have informed a number of you, the Finance Committee decided it did not want to duplicate your all's efforts, but did feel that on behalf of town meeting, it did need to look at the implications, the financial implications of this project on the sewer system. And of course, now that, at least temporarily, is a moot point. However, the application has been made to the Acton Board of Selectmen, and they've approved it. But of course, there are approvals that have to be done elsewhere before that actually happens. And at some point, I guess I was trying to make, say, are we ready to restart those negotiations if in fact Acton can't provide the sewer services? So those are my two questions, I guess.
Thank you. Okay. So, hopefully we'll see you November 7th.
You will.
And we'll begin the process.
And the only challenge we'll have is if we're still in the World Series at that point.
No, it's over October 31st.
Thank you
Game
very
7.
much. Okay, then we're good.
The night of the filming?
Yeah.
Oh.
October 31st is Game 7.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
then
so
we're good with that.
We will,
We scheduled it that way.
we will meet with you on November 7th, and then we'll
That's
provide
fine.
us what you have. If you can provide it in
I
advance,
will, I
even
will
the
provide it
better.
as soon as I could sit down and do some
And
typing.
then, we'll have questions, and we'll move from that basis.
And there are two parts to the aspect really you have to remember about the memorandum of agreement. There is the legal terminology of how the document is structured. Council will spend time on that. I don't think that that's really the issue we're focusing on, probably in our discussion. We're really going after the business terms of what we're talking about for mitigation. And so,
We'll make sure that if it's appropriate, that we have, town council on hand at our meetings to protect the town's interests and to make sure that everything's the way it should be.
absolutely. And if county council feels that the discussion will take place, I'll let Lou know at that time. And if not, then we'll just deal with the business terms.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to the town administrator's report. Everybody has it. A whole lot of Halloween stuff as well.
Yeah, right. So,
Thank you.
first I want to say, I attended Maynard Fest. I wasn't able to attend Oktoberfest, so I want to publicly thank the town staff and all the volunteers and everyone who came out for Maynard Fest and Oktoberfest and whatnot.
Kevin took care of it.
What'd you say?
No, I was kidding. So we did that last week.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to do it
All right,
publicly, so now I'm on camera,
okay.
so I get to say thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Behind.
Thank them for
2
you.
weeks behind.
I was busy. I've been attending a couple of conferences, but, I just want to make it publicly. There's a MMPA, which is a Massachusetts Municipal Personnel Association collective bargaining training on October 26, 2018, and then, although it is specified in my contract, the Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association Fall Conference on November 15th to 16th, 2018. By my contract, I'm supposed to make it publicly known. I plan to attend those training sessions. Right, but to give credit where credit's due, Stephanie Dugan, my executive assistant, took the initiative to do a couple of Halloween festive events. Actually, I'm going to let Stephanie give her 2 cents.
Oh,
This is Stephanie Dugan. She's the executive assistant for the town administrator.
you want me to talk about the staff stuff first?
Whatever, go for it.
Well, there's, the Halloween staff, stuff is in the packet, I guess. What we try to do is just try to engage the staff during different holidays, and Halloween tends to be a fun one. So, but in addition to just having a celebration at Town Hall, letting the staff have a little bit to eat in the morning and having them dress up and do some stuff for the staff, we're doing a drive for donations for kids' bags for the open table. I guess that they have this option for kids' bags when people come to open table. They send the children away with a little snack bag of individual size things. So we have a drive out in the hallway that the staff is participating in. Anyone can participate in it, but staff-driven. And then
Jack-o'-lanterns.
jack-o'-lantern thing. This, I don't know. We'll see. So
Are we doing jack-o'-lantern nights?
yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I think that's a great idea. I've always wanted
Yeah.
to do it at Memorial Park, so.
Okay.
But say it publicly for the
Well,
good people of
oh,
Maynard.
okay. It's embarrassing. Okay.
She didn't know I was asking her to do this.
So Jack-o'-lantern nights is going to be, we want it to take place Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, October 28th through the 30th. What we'll do is we'll go to the schools and we'll post on blogs and just get the word out that any residents that want to bring a jack-o'-lantern to Town Hall, we will display it out front. We'll try to fill the yard with jack-o'-lanterns. I think it would be a real cool thing for the kids. And in an effort to get them to come and pick them up on Tuesday, we will give them a participation ribbon. And we're hoping that each of you will take a blue ribbon and pick your favorites.
Oh, great idea.
And you guys can give a special award, as will the staff will also pick their one favorite from the group of staff members as well. So just thought it would be a fun ad. Maybe it'll get bigger, we don't know. The DPW is super psyched about it, so, yeah.
I can only imagine some of the.
Is it gonna draw squirrels?
Yeah, I know, everyone's worried about weather and squirrels and stuff, but we'll see.
The squirrels are terrible this year.
I've got a
Yeah.
good team of people, and
Okay.
we've got a lot of, the staff that really
Thank
cares
you for
about it.
that.
And
I
I think
think
it'll be a
that's a
fun
great idea.
time, so.
It looks like you want businesses to participate too.
We would love that if that's something that Greg wants us to reach out to businesses, just to say, try to line the streets with, jack-o'-lanterns during that time.
Hey,
With his
the streets.
endorsement, could you push out the flyer or send it to us in PDF and we
Yes.
could circulate it to some of those groups downtown?
Whatever you want, yep.
The city of Keene did that for years and years. They did it, they did their pumpkin festival in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
We can do it better.
And they got rid of it a couple of years ago, and they're ruining the decision to get rid of it.
Well, we're taking it.
And it went to, where did it go? It went to,
They had like the stacked one.
no, it went somewhere else, because somebody told me they went to it a couple of weeks ago.
It's
It
still in
started
New
a
Hampshire
couple weeks ago.
somewhere, I saw it.
Yeah, it's,
Keene, New
Up near
Hampshire had
Laconia
one.
or
Keene, New
something?
Hampshire had it. It's not, is it Laconia?
It's up there somewhere.
It's somewhere up in that way, but they moved it, Litchfield?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's Litchfield, New Hampshire. So they moved it out of Keene, and the Keene business community is distraught because of they used to get tens of thousands of people
We're
every
hoping.
weekend for like 3 or 4 weekends to go up there and do the exact same thing.
Wasn't there like
We're hoping it'll be a
wasn't there like an alcohol-fueled issue?
Well, the kids from the college
Yeah.
had an issue one year, but they had, as you, all throughout the main road, and it's about, it's a little bit longer than our main street, but they had, displays of, like, wooden displays, like 3, 4, 5, 6 pumpkins high the whole way down the street. It was incredible.
Yes. The ideas that Aaron
But they-
McCosco and I came
yeah.
up with were pretty cool. We were
They moved
thinking,
it out, but I think this is a great idea. I look forward to it. I thank you for,
well, you're welcome, and we hope it'll grow. We hope we can maybe,
now, do we
incorporate the
need to,
park.
do we need to okay them? We don't need to okay them, maybe? Okay.
It's just a front hall.
So, well, I thank
spread
you
it.
very much. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Everybody get your pumpkins.
A couple of other events I just want to say publicly. Well, also kudos to Stephanie and her working with the MRC, which is the Medical Reserve Corps, for doing the flu shots. So we had the staff flu shots today. We'll do the senior flu clinic on.
We did them as well today.
Oh, we did
Everybody
them as
got
well
done
today.
today, yes. We vaccinated almost 100 people.
Yep. So she's been all over that. And the Zaxter bike share program, the ribbon cutting is scheduled for October 25th at 3 p.m. So 1 hour before the Halloween parade over at Mill and Main.
Is it at Mill and Main, or is it at the South Acton train station?
So my understanding is that it's at Mill and Main, and then people will get on their bikes and then head north towards Acton.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I want to know who's riding a bike, who they expect to ride a bike.
Bill's gonna be probably right in the front, right, Bill?
So are they
I'm not-
literally expecting, like, participants in this thing to ride bikes, or are other people?
I mean, if you pay the money to rent the bike, it's supposed to be, it's at a cost.
Okay.
So, the selectmen are invited to attend, as well as to participate in the ribbon cutting. Early voting is coming, just as a use this as a venue to make the public aware. October 22nd through November 2nd.
I know that we.
That's all I have.
I know that we got at least I saw, I don't know, I think we all saw an email about town hall and the heat and the water, and so
Right.
when do they anticipate having that done?
Thursday? But I also have the same conversations with the facilities staff.
So what do we do if, for instance, what do we do if it doesn't happen Thursday night and we go into a hard freeze, 20-degree weather? Do we close town hall for Friday when it's that cold?
Good question. I haven't considered it, but yes, I mean, well,
So
the
it's
public
entire-
safety and the
this
town
in
safety
the
would
police
be.
station too?
What's that?
This building, it includes a police station?
Does the boiler cover the police station? I think it's all one building.
Do they have their own boiler?
Do they have their own
I don't know the answer to the question.
Mike Noble's not here, so.
Okay, I'm just curious.
That's a good question, but I mean.
Because it's going to get extremely cold Thursday, Wednesday.
I think it's Wednesday into Thursday, yeah.
You can ask the staff there, I think it's cold, so.
Mid-30, low to mid-30s on Wednesday
Run out
night.
and get a whole bunch of jackets.
No, so,
And then
but
Friday,
that,
it's going to be cold.
We're New Englanders.
I fully agree, and we will have something in Kyle Bernard, the head custodian, and Tim Goulding, the facilities director, they are aware that it is a concern. And they are addressing it regularly with all the staff. But we know it is a concern. And again, the safety is paramount. I don't want people getting cold, and I want people to be productive.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
How do you feel tonight? I think it's okay.
It's nice tonight.
All
but
right.
it
We had a
hasn't-
good crowd. So.
Hasn't gotten into the 20s yet.
Right, sure. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I'm busy planning a wedding, so I don't have anything to say tonight. Any comments? Melissa?
I do not have anything either.
Justine?
Tomorrow, David and I are doing the subcommittee meeting for the budget, 7 o'clock in, I think, the finance room. I think that's where we have it. Yeah, so we look forward to really, continuing our conversations. I think that we've done a good job so far, and we look forward to continuing it.
And it's an open meeting.
Yes, it is.
Thank God. You guys are the best.
We try.
I know. Try not to get beat up too badly. All right, Mr. Gavin?
Actually, what I would like to just quickly comment and commend the board. The public probably isn't aware that we had our meeting last week as a goal-setting meeting where we had an opportunity to sit down and talk about not only our goals for the year, but sort of our goals for the town moving forward. And I think we should commend ourselves, and this is really just for the public purposes, commend ourselves for the fact that we had such a good discussion and were able to, really state things honestly and openly. And I think that was a good move on our part, and I hope that we continue to do that.
Yep, I would agree. Thank you. Armand?
I got nothing.
Okay, just so everyone else knows, the Red Sox won 8-2. And I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? And our next scheduled meeting is November 5th. No, November 7th.
November 7th.
God.
We'll have an election.
Sounds good.